like to say thank you for coming and spending time with us at the Summer Faculty Institute this week. And even more importantly, thank you for picking this session. Because there are, 3 others that are really great going on right now. So thanks very much for taking time to choose this one. I'm Sandy McVeigh. It's going to be a full spectrum introducing 6 different presentation tools. I'd like to ask just very quickly, what drew you to this session?
This isn't an area of strength for me, so I'd like to see kind of what's new, what's out there, and I'm especially interested in Prezi.
Okay.
So getting exposed to that is helpful.
All right, so we're going to get going. So presentation, all right, the definition of presentation. I thought that was a good way to open it because it's not about the tool, it's about the story, it's about the content. Okay? And how you choose to deliver it is entirely up to you. So visual communication dates way back. So this is the tree of life, 10,000 years ago, cave painting. We were using images back then to tell our stories. Egyptian hieroglyphics on pottery, we started to decorate, but we were still telling stories. And now I'm going to skip, because I could be at this timeline for a very long time, to Peter Rabbit. 1902 was one of the first stories that you could understand completely just by looking at the picture. PowerPoint came out in 1990. 1990, okay? So to us, it's a pretty standard tool, but we still remember life before PowerPoint, where our students do not, which is why they want something different now. Okay? It is still a really good tool, and there's no reason to want it to die or hate it, okay? In my opinion. Keynote. This was interesting to me. Came out in 2003. For some reason, I thought it came out at the same time as PowerPoint. It was 13 years later. Well, no wonder it's so much slicker. Okay? Besides, all the Apple stuff is slicker. It doesn't mean I can use it. It just is cooler. 2007, Google, our friend Google, came out with Google Docs, Google Presentations, and the game changed. No longer are we attaching a file to email it around for everybody to do their part. We're all collaborating, we're connecting, we're using the same one and presenting right online. Great, great tool. And there are some things you probably didn't know about that. Prezi came out in 2008. 2008. 6 years it's been around. And people are still not sure. I don't know. I get seasick every time I watch a Prezi. I like the idea. So let's talk about that. Let's see what we can do. Hopefully no one's seasick yet. Okay. And then in 2012, there was a whole burst of tools that you could use. And we're going to talk about 3 of them. One of them is Piktochart for infographics, which is taking data and making a visual representation of that. Timeline.js, which is really my personal favorite. It's from Northwestern University. It derives off of a Google spreadsheet. It's a little more work, but the return is really neat. And Bitstrips. So if any of you Facebook, Bitstrips came out a couple years ago. And yeah, it's cartoony, but sometimes that's what you want. You just want a little statement, and I'll show you where that might fit in. All right, now, PowerPoint 2013 is the latest Windows version, and there's something new that came out in May called the Mix. So I'm going to show you a mix. The PowerPoint Mix allows you to do is to make a PowerPoint slideshow, and you don't get a new version of Microsoft. It's 2013. It's just an add-in. It does give you the option to put in your name or put in a fill in the blank. So we were testing. Okay. You can give hints. So I'm going to back this up. Edit. Okay, so it's an imaginary person. Combination of 2 people here. You can give a hint, okay, why you want this information, and then you submit. Okay, and then you can continue. You can do multiple choice. Okay. So can somebody, we've already done this. So you can see what this looks like if the right answers are chosen. If a wrong answer is chosen, you can give feedback as to why it's not the right answer. Which 2 colors make orange, things like that. Give them a little bit of feedback. Just because you make it on a 2013 Windows machine doesn't mean that you can't play it on anything. So it is in early stages, but it does work on Macs, it does work on iPads. Okay. So it might be a way to deliver some of that extra online content. You could have an open-ended question. And this is what it looks like from the back side as well, just so you can get an idea of that screenshot. And there's a link to this, so if you care to look at this in depth, you can take a look at it. There's also built-in screen recording now. Isn't that nice? You don't have to buy another program.
How to upload your mix and get
So that just captured my screen.
and how to improve.
No fancy thing, just a built-in microphone. I wanted to see how it would work without any extra stuff.
So I'm going to show how you can
Wanna do it with
webcam under normal lighting conditions, nothing special here. You can record a thumbnail or full screen. We're doing a thumbnail here. There are different pen colors and thicknesses. So you can choose what works best with your annotation. You can record over multiple slides, and I would suggest that you pause your voice between the slides so you don't get cut off as normally happens during communication. But it looks like it has good potential.
There's a link from the Summer Faculty Institute website to this mix. If you could fill it out, it would be great, because I'm looking at the analytics behind it. If we have chance at the end of this session, I'll show you the analytics, but it does track how long somebody is on a slide, if they got the questions correct. It does some nice processing. It's not linked to a learning management system, so that would be a next step down the road, possibly, but it's still interesting to experiment with. And that's about the mix. So Google Slides. You know about Google Apps and collaboration and all that great stuff. Let me show you the most awesome 450-page slide presentation that really is pretty awesome, made with Google Slides. It's a digital flip book. Remember when you made those flip books as a kid and you moved stop frame by stop frame? 450 slides. Pretty neat stuff, right? And so now we're using a Prezi. We have 3 samples here that you might want to look at later. The first one is called Identity, and it was the 2013 winner of the Prezi contest. It was based on a TED Talk by Brian Stevenson. This one here was offered by Ralph Begleiter, one of his students in his Global Studies class, Global Agenda class. Did a wonderful one. Actually, it was a 3-student collaboration, and I thought it was really worthy to put in here to see the student work that can come out of this. And then the one I'd like to show you live is this one.
According to Gloria Ladson-Billings, culturally relevant teaching is a pedagogy that empowers students intellectually, socially, emotionally, and politically by using cultural reference to impart knowledge, skills, and attitudes. Here is a word problem that you might encounter in a typical secondary mathematics classroom. this question apart from its face value. A majority cultured student is typically one from the upper to middle class, is a suburban dweller, has at least one parent with a higher education degree, if not both, and generally holds high cultural capital. A student from this background may answer the question like this. A minority cultured student is typically one from a low socioeconomic background or falls outside of the white middle class paradigm. A student from this background may answer the question like this. What is the percentage of students that are of racial and ethnic minority in American schools today? If you answered 40%, you are correct. Most recent data suggests between 40 and 43% of students in American schools are of a racial or ethnic minority. What does the research say about teaching mathematics in a culturally relevant way? A culturally relevant teaching environment is one where teachers and students intersect. On moving towards a more accessible method of teaching, individual teachers can avoid creating unequal educational outcomes by coming to terms with the assumptions they make about students based on their race or ethnicity. This will create an environment where students can think more critically and creatively.
So I wanted you to think about this. Do you think you could make something like that for your students to assign as homework? Okay? So that they're coming with more of the foundational knowledge that you need. This isn't asking them to read an article. This is more engaging. It's a bit more interesting. Where's it going to go? And we have a special surprise for you, because that was made by our own Alexandra Lee. And she's going to talk about why she chooses Prezi sometimes.
I made this Prezi for one of my graduate classes this semester. It was the first time I used Prezi, and I decided to use it because a fellow in my cohort uses Prezi all the time, and I was really impressed with it. And I decided to just dive in and play around with it, and this was the result. So here are some of the things that I found out about Prezi. Prezi was developed in 2008, and instead of a linear sort of format like PowerPoint, it uses a blank canvas. And it uses something that's called a zooming user interface. So it allows you to zoom in on certain areas of the canvas that you want to emphasize. So it allows you to explore ideas more smoothly and more naturally rather than just going more in a linear fashion. So with that said, there's kind of a learning curve that you have to get your mind out of, because when you're designing presentations, a lot of people are so used to the PowerPoint idea of moving from slide to slide to slide to slide. But with Prezi, it's just like this big blank wall, and you can go anywhere that you want to go on it. And getting your mind out of that is really, really kind of a challenge. But once you just get your mind out of that, it's really, really cool what you can do. The nice thing about Prezi too is that it's completely web-based. There is a desktop version that you can pay for, but why pay for something when you don't have to, right? You get 100 megabytes of free cloud storage. Again, that's the web-based version, so why not? You can pay $59 for 5 gigs. You can pay $159 a year for 20 gigs. You don't really need to, because I find that the free version honestly is enough for at least a graduate student. So I would imagine that for a faculty person, that's probably enough too, because you guys give us a whole lot of stuff. So I would imagine that our workloads are pretty similar. Some of the drawbacks, however, to Prezi. Prezi is not ADA compliant. And this is something that I found out by doing a little bit of digging, while PowerPoint is ADA compliant. And this is not ADA compliant because some of the accessibility options that you'll find on mobile devices, such as the iPad, things like dictation, that you'll find those options, Prezi is not compatible with. So in your teaching, you may have to be compliant with some of those rules. So with that said, this may not be a tool that you are even allowed to use, but you might be able to. You might be able to use this. You might be able to get around it. Let's see. Also, with Prezi, using your iPad or your iPhone, you would have to download an app because you have to use Flash with it. So that's the other thing. There's that web compatibility issue there. But the app isn't too bad. It's a little bit clunky for the iPad. So if you're using a Mac computer, I would suggest going that route rather than using the app. But if you're using a PC, you're pretty much in good shape. Let's see, I think I hit just about everything. Oh, no, also, another really cool thing about Prezi is that you can collaborate with up to 10 people at a time. So that's with not only presenting, so you can do live presentations, so you can have up to 10 people anywhere around the world, and you can all hit present at the same time, and you can be watching it simultaneously, and you can also collaborate and work on it simultaneously with up to 10 people. So that's anywhere as long as you have an internet connection. So that makes putting presentations together very, very easy, especially, I mean, with me and my graduate cohort when I'm doing, group work. I find it really easy to just get work done and not have to actually meet physically, and I'm sure that would be a benefit to faculty persons as well. So does anybody have any questions about Prezi? Sure.
Is it, do you know if they're working on making it ADA compliant? I mean, if it's open source?
That I'm honestly not sure. Because of the ZUI interface, that I'm not sure how they would do it, to be honest. Because of you saw all of the zooming. I'm not sure how they would get around it, because you can see that can be kind of very, very challenging to the eyes. So I'm not sure how they would do it. Any other questions?
And I'd like to say that we're halfway. We've got through 3 tools. Do you have any questions about PowerPoint or Google Slides at this point before we do the second half? No, we're that good. Okay, that's where I like to be at this point. Thank you, Al. Thank you very much. And the other thing I'd like to point out is just because it's visual and this is not a fluff thing. Look at the references that go behind this. All right? So students have to cite their sources. This is the bit strips I was talking about, the Facebook app. But you can remind students to read the chapter on lab safety before they come and blow up the labs. You can remind students to come to class dressed professionally because we're going to debate. Okay? So just something like that. Just to help break it up. And to send out that reminder maybe in a way that isn't quite so, nagging. So, and by the way, if you didn't notice, that's me. You get to make your own avatar to resemble you as much or as little as you'd like. And you can also change your hair and clothes, so you get a whole wardrobe. But the thing is that it's very quick. It's really, really quick. And this is related to Facebook. You do need a Facebook account. But you don't have to post it to Facebook if you don't want. So you can make the bit strip and then use a screen capture to save that image, and then you have a local image. Or if you do post it to Facebook, you can go over there really quickly and make it private if you want, or whatever you want it to do. There's also the opportunity sometimes. The lab didn't have exactly what I wanted, so I started with their background, and then I put it in PowerPoint and added the beakers and things like that. So you can make a little mini collage and save that as an image as well. So it's a nice little starting point.
And they're just images, not animation, right?
No. Right, they're a single cell cartoon. That's all it is. Really.
Excuse me, so could you send it like as an announcement in Sakai somehow?
Sure, because in your announcement in Sakai, you can insert an image. So you would download this image and then just insert the image. And it would get the picture. You should certainly include the content typed for ADA compliance, I'm sure, as Alex was pointing out, because I'm sure that text wouldn't be read in the cartoon cell. So PictoChart is an infographic tool, and we are lucky enough to have another guest presenter. So Muhi, our other grad student, is going to come and tell you about PictoChart. And by the way, Mu's family is here visiting from China. Say hi to Mu's family.
Thank you. So I occasionally speak some Chinese words, so don't panic about that. Okay, so PictoChart, and here I create a short video to introduce that. I try really hard to find a promo video from PictoChart website, but they didn't really supply one, so I have to make one by myself. So the idea of infographic is to use image to present information more efficiently and more clearly. And its origin is from the data visualization. So especially with the popularity of big data, the concept. So we have a lot of data, and how to analyze data and let the audience know what's the meaning of those data is become really more and more challenging. And that's why we have the infographic like this, have a lot of numbers and with attractive charts to present it. So traditionally, if you want to create an infographic like this one, you have to know Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. And combine all of them, you need to spend like hours and hours to create a chart like this. So it is not practical for the educators like you. You do not want to spend hours and hours just presenting one image. And that's why we present you the PictoChart. And we set to in 5 steps, and you will create a comparable infographic like this one. So this is too small, but if you notice, look at really closely, you will find all the information in this chart is exactly the same as this one. And I created this one in about 15 minutes. So it's really a good use for your time. And also, infographic, as the name indicates, is used to present information. So it could be a really good presentation too. So if you are looking for create an imitation or it's a short course slides, You don't need to really open the PowerPoint. You can just drag some headings and some data and put it on here, and then it will generate a JPEG or PNG image. You can either to embed in Sakai, in Canvas, or you share it with your students. And also, if you use this as an educational tool, then you can make the as the illustrator as the image in the video. You can move the teaching learning experience from the bottom of the Bloom's taxonomy to the top of that. Because when students are asked to create an infographic, they have to gather the data, they have to analysis, evaluate, and then finally they create the infographic like that. Okay, so here I will just briefly demonstrate how it works. And thanks for your attention. Okay, so once you log into the physical chart, and I'm sure if you create an account, you don't need to go through my experience. And you will have a lot of choice. They provide about more than 100 templates. But some of them, if you see the pro, it means you have to buy the pro plan to use it. But there are plenty of free versions already there. So mouse over on it and simply click on Create, give it a name. So after this short waiting, then you will be able to customize the template based on your need. And for the infographic, for the pixel chart, it adopted the linear design. So basically, from the top to the bottom, you have to work with different blocks. You can add a block, or it is very easy to add another new block, or you just clone the existing block. And if you double click on that, you can edit the text, the image, or you can upload your own image to here and drag it to the main canvas. So the only thing you need to do is just type the text and drag and drop to the picture. And once you finish everything, you go through from the top to the bottom, and then you save it, preview it, and then you are ready to download it and distribute it to your students. Okay, so that's pretty much for the demonstration of this tool. If you are interested, please welcome to our workshop this afternoon. Any questions? Yes.
So can you also use photos, or how does it?
Yes, definitely. You can import your photos to here, and it also provide those vector images in this web application, which you can zoom in and zoom out, and there's no loss for the quality of the image.
Can you I guess, import this into a PowerPoint slide? Or?
Yep. Once you there are a lot of sharing options. You can get an image and embed in there, or you can have the embed code into your web page or whatever you want to embed. Yes. Yes.
Would it also work with something like iBook Author?
Yes. Once you get the image, then you can just embed it in there. Great. It's just like a normal picture.
The one thing great about putting it in PowerPoint is that these tend to be very long, very vertical banner-like. And when you put it in PowerPoint, then it'll get small. It's not the perfect proportions. But you can make small ones if you really like. Short is good.
Thank you.
Short is good. Okay. You're welcome. Thank you. And of the infographics, when I started this journey, this was an interesting one to me. It is the 20 top bankruptcies. Okay. So let me just zoom in on that. Here, come here. Okay. I'm in presentation mode. That's why it's not zooming. Alrighty. So it was really interesting to me that they make the size of the ship relate to the size of the bankruptcy. So guess which one is Enron?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. But it has a timeline. So again, a lot of research goes behind this. It's not just a picture. It really is a picture that tells 1,000 words. So now we're getting to Timeline.js. But the great thing about this is that it really is a Google spreadsheet. Okay? And I just want to show you my sample of how you might be able to use this for assignment management. Think about something that you have in your class. Okay? It can be over the course of a semester. It could be more long-term. It could be a shorter assignment. It doesn't matter. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's a timeline. Okay? So what's nice about this is that you have what are called eras or tags that you can use. So it's a little difficult to see, but I have a checkpoint, thinking, doing, and reflecting. And all along here are items that fall in those categories. And it's a little timeline. So that in itself is semi-useful. But now we get to the fun visual part of it. So you have an image that you put up, and then there's also, you can put a link here. I'm not going to click on it, but this is to give students more. Okay? So if you click on this link, this would take you out to the Timeline.js website so you could find out about this product at Northwestern. Just like with any assignment, you need to set expectations if you're going to see the results. And you upload your own images. That's the little PowerPoint person I made. Okay? If you've never combined objects in PowerPoint, we should have fun together because you can make any shape you want. But here's your link to your assignment that includes your rubric. Right? There is also, if you come back and explore this later, there's a neat link that I got from Center for Teaching and Assessment of Learning for a rubric generator where you put in your stuff and it gives you your rubric. It's pretty neat. So there's a quick link to that in there. But now here's where you start teaching. Okay? Here's where you tell your students, bring your intrinsic knowledge. What do you know about this subject? Let's start compiling. Right? And you show them how to get to Google Scholar if they've never used it. And you show them whatever else they might need to gather data on that particular subject. And then you go to the beach, and you get the sieve, and you get all the debris and the stuff that doesn't matter. Sift it out. And here's another great article. Okay? Avoid information overload. Learn how to aggregate, filter, and curate. So this is kind of that scaffolding idea that Christy was talking about, right? You're giving them the big picture, and then you're giving the students who need more the ability to get more easily. So you set your milestone. It's going to be an easy one because we're early on. But it's still, you need to set that milestone or else what? They won't be doing anything, right? Okay, so this is your deadline, your checkpoint, your milestone. And then I'm going to use the idea of the kiln as your classroom. That's when they bring all this stuff back and the excitement starts to happen in the Container Club, your classroom. And here's a link to something called a discussion web. Maybe you want to do a debate. Maybe you just want to do, small group discussions. Whatever works for your class. And this is where the fire starts, right? Everybody starts getting inspired. They're not expired, inspired. Excited about the topic. Right? And this is when the great magical things happen that you know happen because you've been teaching for a long time and you wouldn't still be teaching if it didn't happen. Right? Because it wouldn't be fun anymore. And if you're not having fun, you're not going to be teaching either. Now, this milestone's tougher, so this is whatever that is, that you know what that is. It's the one that all of a sudden they're like, oh, wow, this is work now. But you're letting them know right up ahead, and, yes, we know it's on your syllabus, we know it's on the assignment, but you're giving them that visual cue as well. And then they have a chance to distill, to think about, to reflect, to grow. Okay? Build that time in. Don't just start with the next assignment, or else it's not going to stick as well. Right? Okay, so I don't know what that looks like in your class. I don't know whether that's a discussion period. I don't know if that's a reflection paper, a blog, a journal entry, a sketch. I don't know. But what's wonderful is they take the sand, they filtered the sand, they fired the sand, and they've created something new and wonderful that never existed before, with information that did exist. Because nothing's really new, but we're constantly reshaping and reworking things. Yay! Right? We all get something out of it. Some more than others, but we all move forward. So next time, I really like this one. We'll talk about building bridges. And then this is about building interdisciplinary bridges. How about connecting your course to other courses? You can scroll through this as you want. You can click on things to go back to them if you needed to review. And it's a simple link. It's a Google spreadsheet. You put your images up somewhere that they're public so you can link to them, and you just generate from the spreadsheet. So the sandbox is the opportunity to come and play with us. We'll be up in 218.4 today. There will be 6 people there to help you along with the 6 tools. If you don't have time to do it today, because there's so many good things going along, this is our handout.
Want more information or one-on-one assistance? We're here for you. ATS.udl.edu.
Come to your house. Karen says she wants me to come to her house. if you make cookies, I'm there. So Becky's going to be doing Timeline JS, and Moo will be doing Picture, and Alice will be doing Prezi, and I'll be doing the PowerPoint next. Okay. And Debbie is going to do Google Slides. She's blonde. She's taller than me. She's really nice.
Sorry, I missed that.
Hi, Siri.
Hi, Siri.
Hi, Siri. She's not going to help. Okay.
She knows everything.
But she has no hands. She can't point. And Marsha will be here as well doing spin strips. So in front of you, there's some rocks. Okay? So I want you to think about your courses. They're probably already really good, and they're solid. They're not. But they're really solid for most. You've been teaching. You have a good course. You're thinking about maybe doing something a little different. Remember that sometimes you have to break things and get them down to a basic element to get them into the kiln, to get them fired, to turn them into something new. Turn them into glass. Okay, so you might have to take those rocks and turn them back into sand before you can get to the glass. So the final question is, isn't that cute? Flipped, right? Who are you going to play with in the sandbox today?
Is there some way you can have access either to your Prezi or...
Could you sort of ask students to timeline their work on a PBL sort of process?
You certainly could. Okay? So make a timeline now. They mean it. They don't take you to another page or anything. They say, welcome, here's one of their samples. Okay, it's easy. That's their instructions, by the way. How to make a timeline is a timeline. How it works. Okay? Make a timeline. Create your spreadsheet. Okay? They give you a template. Use it. You really need the template. Okay? But it's not that difficult. When you're done with the template, you're going to choose Publish to the Web. Then you copy and paste that publish URL right here. And you preview your timeline. You can pick different fonts and stuff. And it gives you the embed code, or you just click Preview. And that's what all that we're doing for this presentation is we're linking to the preview. We don't have it embedded on a special page anywhere.
So it's not something you could print out, for instance, and submit with an undergraduate research proposal.
It would probably be difficult. I'm sure that you could print it, but of course the whole idea is the interactivity. So, yep. Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
One of the reasons I came is because I'm always thinking about presenting at conferences. So what I tend to do is I have bits and pieces that are all in PowerPoints, and I just pull them from the PowerPoints, and I make a new PowerPoint. Mm-hmm. And I've used Prezi and some other stuff in classes, but I'm wondering if any of you have seen the pictogram or the, certainly Prezi's I've seen at conferences, but I'd like to hear a little bit about what people use to present information at conferences, since we heard that bullets are evil yesterday.
I don't agree with that myself. I think it brings up the content, and I couldn't live without them. That's why every thing I send you to is an outline, because I don't want to tell you everything here. This is what you need. But conferences, what do you see at conferences? Greg doesn't go.
PowerPoint.
So you can
And
be
you know-
innovative, Jill.
You don't have to use bullets just because you use PowerPoint.
But even like I've been thinking a lot about the images. We were talking about images yesterday, and
Yeah.
so those of you who put in images, which I do sometimes myself, but I mean, like Pam, you just showed us some on this timeline. You just go to Google Images and search and find something.
Oh, that's what I do for some of them. I make sure that they are Creative Commons, right, and they are cited. If you see that there's that's
Which
part of
not
the
everybody
template.
does.
That was part of the template.
Okay.
That there's a place for it, for your citing source. I mean, it's not going to be in APA or MLA style. It's going to be a link back to wherever you got it. But you can make the text be whatever you want. So you can use your own images. Those are like my milestone points. Then you can go out and get the web images as well. Mm-hmm. Yes, William.
And the library has a database where you can get images.
Absolutely. Yeah. So where's that database? I should add it to my What I did want to show you is, let's see. No, that's not what I wanted to show you. I did download the desktop version of this because I wanted to show what it would look like. There we go. So that's, even when you have an endless whiteboard space, what did I do? I made a picture background as my container because I like the idea of that container. That, by the way, that's to be an idea of a sandcastle. But it also shows that how you can bring all these colors together for one big image, and it can work.
So just as an example for people, where did you find that nice sunset image?
In Prezi Images.
Ah, okay.
So I went here with insert an image, and there's a search right here, and it goes to Google Images. So I put something about castle.
Actually, it goes to Flickr, it looks like.
Well, yeah, powered by Google Flickr. So
Flickr is actually a really good website to search for images. Anyone can upload images to
let me do something.
Flickr, and a lot of professional photographers do. And some of them don't want you to use their images for free. But you can actually filter at Flickr on the copyright status. So if you filter for just the stuff that would be permissible for you to use, with attribution, of course, there's still a ton of stuff there. I do find that sometimes, if I don't do the copyright thing right off the bat, I find something truly wonderful, and then, oh, too bad, can't use that one. It can be disappointing, but there's a ridiculous amount of stuff there that is copyright free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and here, if you come down here, when I did my search, which I did not do at first, you can choose show only images licensed for commercial use. So that's going to make sure that you're covered.
But yours is not a commercial use, so
No,
there are
but
a lot more images.
Right, there are a lot. But if you were just saying, I just need a picture of a dog, and I want to make sure that if I show it somewhere, I'm not in trouble.
Right,
So
but you're not. But my point is, that's not really the filter you want. You really want a filter that permits for non-commercial use. And there are a lot more of those.
How do you get that?
Well, if you go out to the regular Google Images or go out to regular Flickr, you can do it there and then download that image or something like that, because you can select a file and just upload any image that you have.
I have to say, the other day I was trying to get a Creative Commons something on, like a photomicrograph of silk.
Yeah.
And I really had trouble finding anything.
It can be hard. It can be challenging because sometimes people just don't put any kind of Creative Commons licensing, and so that won't come up like with anything or from anywhere.